All right, y'all. Welcome to the Neat Disciples. My name's Philip. This is Jeremy. Today we're going to talk about reconciliation and mending broken relationships. So, really looking forward to this conversation. I was been thinking about this for a while because here we are right after Thanksgiving, going into the Christmas season, and family's just pushed, right? And I've got some broken relationships within my family and had several over the years and everything. And I think as I was looking at my notes from a few months ago, this is just timely for this time of year, right? Like,
Yeah.
we talked about forgiveness in a previous episode, and I can't remember, it's like, 10, 11, 12 back
Yeah.
a few months ago, but this kind of goes with it. We talked about, hey, we need to forgive, but then what? Like, how do we reconcile that? And,
Yeah.
how do we come to that number one idea that we need to reconcile, forgive, and then how do we move on?
Yeah. Sadly, I'm not going to be able to relate. My family's perfect. We've got no broken relationships, never had to deal with any of this. So you're kind of on your own on this one. No, obviously I can certainly relate. Have had some broken relationships that were significant relationships with family members. We've worked through those. I'm happy to share some of those details if it fits, and still exist with some broken relationships with some extended family that not so sure we'll ever deal with it because they don't want to. But that's the way it goes. So this time of year, it's a little more pronounced because it's a families get together. It's a family time of year, and you're kind of reminded of the brokenness when people are getting together at a family's house or around a table, and certain people are there with the broken relationship still, so it's awkward, or aren't there because of the broken relationship. And so this is just a very kind of volatile time, or it can be a volatile time depending on the context. So
Yeah,
yeah.
totally agree. Well, and we can get more into that here in a little bit as far as, specific examples. So how does it relate to men? And we talked about this before. I'm guilty of it. I bottle things up, stuff it deep down inside,
Yeah.
and don't deal with it. Like, okay, you got a problem with me, I got a problem with you. We're just gonna part ways and forget you, and I'm just not gonna deal with you, and I'm not gonna be rude to you. But that's just my personality. I know some people are. They just are rude, just mad, mean to people just because they're mad at them.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier to do that, right? That's kind of the point. Why do we do that? Because it's easy.
Yeah. No one, I would just, nobody wants to do the hard work.
Right.
Right. So yeah, it's easier just to stuff it and forget about it and move on. And if it means you're rude to one another, or, hurting one another's feelings, so be it. To your point, it's just easier to do that than it is to actually deal with it and kind of work through the awkwardness, the difficulty, being honest about, taking responsibility. That's what we ought to do, but that is not the easy road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's totally against Scripture to do that, to take the easy road, because Scripture does. I just have a few kind of short ones here. Several places in Romans 12:18, do all that you can to live in peace with everyone. Matthew 5:9, God blesses those who work for peace, for they will be called the children of God. That it's really, and that's kind of like the police officer, like the verse for that. Blessed are the peacemakers. Verse. I love, huge supporter of law enforcement. That's not what that's referencing
Yeah.
in my mind. Right.
Yeah.
We all need to be a peacemaker. And then in Psalms 34:14, turn away from evil and do good, search for peace and work to maintain it. And there's probably another 100 verses in the Bible that talk about that. So all that being said, we're not called to just forget about it and walk away and let it go. Like, we're called to make the peace, right? Whatever it looks like.
Yeah. I think, God, Jesus, the Bible is calling the people of God to be different than the world around them, right? And so the world without God, without Jesus, without salvation, does not necessarily default to this principle of forgiveness and restoration and reconciliation. It's all about selfishness and what I want, and everyone else be damned, if I can say that. That you do whatever you need to do to get ahead. If it feels good, do it. I mean, you can even look at some, that reminds us of the famous Nike campaigns. You even look at a lot of different marketing campaigns out there that are all about individuality, and just do it if you want to do it. And so God, Jesus, the Spirit, the Word calls us to something altogether different. And that is to seek peace, to foster peace, to curate peace, to keep it, to make it, to Paul's point, to the best of our ability. This is what we ought to be doing. So Jesus is just calling us all to a much higher standard. So that's what it looks like to be set, in part, that's what it looks like to be set apart, to be holy, to be not of the world, but in the world, that this is really a kingdom call. And so the people of God look different, they think different, they act different because of what God's grace bestowed upon them through Christ and through faith in him. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's our witness too, right? Like if we're gonna be Christ-like, then this part of it.
It is.
Like, how can you say that you're Christ-like and you're gonna hold this grudge or
right
and all that? So I mean, it definitely correlates.
Yeah, which is the hard part. And fortunately, if we read the Bible enough and we're paying attention to what we're reading, I mean, God makes it known. Like this is hard. It's good. It's rewarding. This is the way. This is what I want for you. God would say, but it is hard. This is even Jesus says, if you're going to follow me, make sure you think about what you're about to do. You're not going to build a tower and then not complete it. He says if you're going to start something, he uses this illustration. If you're going to start something, you're going to finish it.
Right.
So make sure that as you're entering into this relationship with Jesus as Lord and Savior of your life, that you are going to see it through. And that includes doing the hard stuff, which is this, among other things.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like we said, it's not easy. So I think the first part is, figuring out, like, if I wrong somebody, how do I go about seeking that forgiveness? Because I've done some pretty bad things with some pretty great people, and I've asked God for forgiveness. I wasn't necessarily put in a place to ask. I never put myself in the place to ask him for forgiveness. I'm not going to put that on anybody else. That's me. But if we do that, we do need to own it, and that's taking responsibility, taking leadership of that, ownership of it, and there's a lot of scripture around confession in James 5:16. Confess your sins to each other, pray for each other, so that you may be healed. The earnest prayer of a righteous person has great power, produces wonderful results. Proverbs 28:13. People who conceal their sins will not prosper, but if they confess and turn from them, they will receive mercy. And then one more, 1 John 1:9. If we confess our sins to him, he is faithful and just to forgive our sins and to cleanse us from all wickedness. So, and we talked about that before, like the hope of salvation and everything. But how do we pare that down to an individual, right? If I wronged you, here's the thing. Sometimes I might not know it. Like if I offend you or in some way, and
it's about time you brought it up. No,
we're gonna fix this right now.
Right.
But if I was to wrong you and it might just be something that, and I'm a guy, I say stupid things sometimes, and I could offend somebody and not even know it, right? And
most definitely.
Yeah, and people have offended me, and I'm like, wait a minute, that was just really terrible for them to say. Well, they may not have intended it that way. We don't know. So it might just be but if I know, hey, I said that and I didn't mean it that way. Will you forgive me? And then we'll water under the bridge, and then that person's got to choose to forgive me. If it's the other way around, if I offended somebody and I don't know about it, how can I ever ask for forgiveness with that, right?
Yeah. This is one that I can sure relate to, and any one of us can say something that's going to be misunderstood, or was what we said was irresponsible. We shouldn't have said it. Thinking maybe it's funny, or not even understanding that somebody's going through something, and we make some kind of a joke, and it hits them, and we don't know anyway. I think we all can relate to that, where we've hurt somebody or offended somebody without intending to. And I think this is where, where Paul says, as much as it's up to you, live in peace. One, as we grow and mature in our faith, this is going to sound so elementary. Good grief, my mom said it when I was growing up. Think before you speak. So it's funny because I just referenced this yesterday in a text thread that you were in. If just because you think it doesn't mean you need to say it. And that's something that I had to really, really learn. Because I would say something in the past because I felt like to survive in my family, which was a highly sarcastic family, loving family, but highly sarcastic. In order to survive, you needed to be sarcastic. And so I would take that into all contexts of my life, where not just necessarily to survive, but to get the attention. I wanted to be the funny guy in the room. I wanted people to laugh. And that would often come at the expense of hurting someone's feelings. So I think I'm funny. I think they're going to understand it's a joke. And oftentimes I meant it as a joke 100% of the time. It was not received that way. And early on, I would think, well, that's your problem, not mine. Well, as I grew and matured, I'm like, no, this is a me problem. It's not their problem. This is mine. And so I really needed to start praying and asking God, like, this, I don't know why I do this. God, I need you to help me fix this. And by his grace, he has. I can still do it, of course. But I don't feel the need to do it. I think I feel more confident in my own skin. I don't have to be the center of attention. While I do enjoy laughing and having a sense of humor and being a part of all that, I don't need to be the center of attention. But to bring this all back, when I do say something or have said something that could have been misconstrued, I might be like driving home or laying in bed that night or even the next day going, you know what? I probably need to make sure. And those are the times where, you know what? Hey, I apologize. I meant it as a joke. 9 times out of 10, they say, no big deal. But I'm now thinking about it. So they didn't say they were offended. They didn't act offended. But I'm driving home thinking, that probably wasn't the wisest thing to say, or I didn't say it the way it sounded better in my head, whatever. And now I'm going and saying, hey, if I need to apologize, tell me. I meant it as a joke. And if it was not received that way, I need you to tell me because I need to apologize for that. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, it's like, no, we're good. But it's that one time, like, yeah. And I think that's maturity in this a little bit. Not to pat myself on the back because it's taken a lot of work. But I don't know, just what you said about you going to somebody, you saying that I've offended people, without even knowing. I think the part where we deal with that is as we think back through the events of that day, that night, that event, do I need to go and qualify, what I said? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it helped.
I think it does. Yeah. And I think it's good that that we recognize that. And I think the key is that we need to do it quickly, because if I'm offended, like if somebody says something to offend me and I just stew on it and don't confront them on that, or vice versa, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that time, the longer we wait, the harder it is to have those conversations. Like, 6 months ago you said this, right, and it bothered me. So I think timeliness is key. So where it doesn't fester, because then it's like then we bottle it down, and then it festers and it grows. And then 6 months later, it's like, I don't even want to be around this person because they said this one thing, and they don't even know, right? Like that's the conundrum of it all. It's like sometimes we get offended or offend people with no knowledge. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Good use of conundrum.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, that was good.
Check that big word box today, man. Yeah. Hey, we're learning.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of skip through the actual forgiveness part. We did a whole episode on that.
Yeah.
Y'all can go back and watch that. It's a really good one.
If only we could skip through the forgiveness part.
Yes. Yeah. But don't do that in real life.
No.
Go back and watch the episode on forgiveness, because there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Yeah.
But here, and we talked about this a little bit in that episode, but I want to dig in a little bit more. So like after the reconciliation, after the forgiveness, like how do we go forward, right? Now, if it's just hey, Jeremy, I said something and you misunderstood it. Oh, didn't even take it that way, and we move on and nothing, like it's fine, right? But what if it's something serious?
Yeah.
Right? How do we do that? And I think your example of Abram and Lot was a good one, a good example.
Yeah. So that was early on. I forget the chapter, but it's in Genesis where Abram and Lot, or God went to Abram and said, "I need you to go," and so Abram went, took up his household, which included Lot. which is his nephew, and they started to go. They ended up pitching their tents. They kind of set up camp in an area, and both their households grew livestock, members of the household, whatnot. And I might get some of the details kind of wrong here, which I don't want to do intentionally, but as their households grew, their servants, their workers, their shepherds or whatnot. So primarily as the livestock was growing and their flocks were growing in numbers, the land could no longer support both of them. Mm-hmm. And they knew that. So their servants, their household workers began to bicker back and forth from Lot's household to Abram's household. And Abram went to Lot and said, look, we have an issue. And in order to preserve the well-being of our families, it's probably best now that we part ways. And they parted ways. Abram said, Lot, I'm going to let you decide which direction you want to go, and I'll go the other direction. Lot said, I'm going to go, I think it said east, I'm going to go east. Abram went the other direction. So they separated. They put some space between them. They took a break for the betterment of both household and for their relationship. And then as time progressed, Lot and his household found themselves caught up in a battle of kings in their area that they went to go move and live. And so Lot and his household are then carried off into, they're captive and they're carried off. Word got back to Abram, and even though they put some space between them, and even though they probably weren't seeing eye to eye when they decided to part ways, immediately upon hearing that his nephew had been carried off, Abraham then goes and gets 300 and so, I think, warriors within his household, and they go get him. So it was like a no-brainer. It wasn't when we weren't getting along, do I really do this? Will he really appreciate it? He hasn't apologized. We don't know all that context, but none of it's there. Abraham wasted no time and went and got his nephew. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure that helps them move on and reconcile in their relationship after Abraham steps up and basically saves the life of his nephew. But to me, the bigger picture there is, one, sometimes we do need to part ways that might be the best thing to do for a while, not permanently necessarily, but for a while. And then even in that status of separation, you're still family. Yeah. There should all be still love and devotion, dedication, commitment to one another. And Abraham exemplified that. And hey, it doesn't matter how things ended or how things are at the moment. That's my nephew. We're going to get him. Yep. And then we deal with everything else later. So I think that's just always a good example of kind of the time in which we live, where politics can be an issue, where certain lifestyles can be an issue between, in one household or extended families. There's so much more to divide us now, or at least it seems like there's so much more to divide us now than bring us together, that sometimes we do need to kind of take a break, let cooler heads prevail, and then kind of get together and figure this thing out. But even when you're taking a break, you're still family. Mm-hmm. You still have responsibilities to one another. You still ought to have each other's back.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's just understanding those boundaries, right? It's just, you still have a relationship. It's just a different relationship. And whether it's, Abraham and Lot, or, me and my, same thing. Like, so I had a falling out with my dad several years ago, and I confronted him on some stuff. He got mad about it. He did some stuff to me. It was a tit for tat in his mind. And I was so mad about it. But I just came down to the point, it's like, okay, I forgive you. Mm-hmm. Whether you believe I need to forgive you or not, and that's on you, but I'm not going to carry this burden, right? Our relationship's different. I don't hardly ever talk to him. And he doesn't talk to me. And that's just a boundary that I set forth, because although I've forgiven, and I don't know if he's forgiven me or needs forgiveness from me or whatever, or I need to forgive, or he needs to forgive me for whatever, I don't know. Getting kind of lost in this forgiveness thing. But all that being said, there's still a split there. It's like, okay, I don't hate you. And it's not that I don't want to be around you. It's just that there's boundaries, right? Yeah. And that's tough. And I've had it with, brothers too, where it's like, hey, you've done these things. I'm not going to hold it against you, but I'm not going to give you any money. Or I'm not going to do these certain things or get in these conversations, because I know that it leads to more tension, more reasons to have to forgive, right? It's just not good.
Yeah, reconciliation doesn't mean everything goes back to the way it was. It means it's a restored relationship, but the relationship may be different. You've said it. There may be different boundaries. There may now be, we now understand lines that we're not going to cross. And this is going back to that verse in Romans 12, as much as it's up to us to live in peace. All right, so if we know now that these are the problematic areas that we don't see eye to eye, and you don't have to see eye to eye on everything. We're free to have our own opinions and have our own worldviews, and sometimes those clash. And if we're willing to at least admit them, work through that, and say, all right, this is the way I see the world. That's the way you see the world. Fair enough. That's the line that, to use a scriptural reference, to use as much as up to me, I'm not going to cross that line. I love you as my brother, I love you as my dad, whatever the context might be. I love you, and because I love you, I'm not going to cross that line. If you cross that line, I'm not going to not discuss it, but maybe we can agree here. Like, that's just something that is, we're not there yet. And so not that we're going to ignore it, but we're not going to purposely go there, for the sake of peace.
Yep.
And I think that takes intent. It's hard. Sometimes it's easier just to poke and, and also, we wanted to, let's just stay away from the line too. Let's see how close we can get to it before it's blown up. All right, that's off limits. Let's just go and have a good holiday. Let's just go and have a good evening. Let's just go and have a good time. And just stay away from that or those lines that you've agreed to not cross. Yeah.
Absolutely. And, I was thinking too, and I heard this on the radio the other day, that you were talking about division and how politics, and there's so many things that divide us in our world right now. But they said when you get to politics, politicians are temporary, but family's not.
Yeah, that's true.
If you do have that boundary, like, okay, look, I don't agree with your politics, you don't agree with mine, and we understand that, and we don't need to argue that out, right? There's so many other things that we have in common besides that, and we just don't talk about it, right? And that's hard, especially around the holidays. Everybody's festive, and there might be drinks involved and everything, and then old Uncle Fred gets, kind of sideways about whatever. It's just, you got to put yourself in a place that's, I don't want to say safe, but a place that's, you're going to set yourself up for success to not have those kind of conversations.
Yeah, or even just let things go. I mean, I've been in a couple of situations with some extended family where, a family member might say some things that are either conspiracy theory, obvious conspiracy theory, or borderline racist or sexist or whatnot. And for the sake of peace, and that's just the way he thinks, or that's just the way she thinks. And it's not 100% right necessarily, but that's also not the place to get into it, And it's just like, I've even had family or friends, join me on like these things. I'll just say, look, that person, just let him go or let her go, because she thinks they're funny. Kind of back to me, thinks they're funny. They're being sarcastic, trying to get some attention. Just let them go. To engage in it is just not going to end well. So just let it go.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's great advice.
I hope.
It's like arguing with somebody online, like on Facebook. I see those things.
Yeah. Should those things be addressed? Probably yes, but not in that venue. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to kind of pick your battles and the time of those battles too, because and then too, it's our state of mind, right? So if people are escalated in anger or they're offended, they're not going to be in the right mind to have a very calm conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And looking at my notes here, I had something around that.
Well, while you're looking, I mean, again, not to pat myself on the back, but what's worked for me is, and I've had to tell my own mom this, who had an issue with a family member on her side. I said, look, they're free to have their opinion. You don't have to like their opinion. You don't have to agree with their opinion. You don't have to comment on their opinion. So just let them have their opinion. Why do you feel the need to say something? And, to her credit, she said, that's true. I don't know why I feel the need. And so she just let it go. Or, this was all online on it's like, you don't need to post. You don't need to comment on that post. Obviously they have a different opinion than you, and that's their prerogative. That's fine. Just ignore it.
Yeah.
It's not going to end. This is not going to end well if you interject your opinion.
Right.
Like, just let them have their opinion.
That's wisdom, man.
Well,
knowing when to interject your
opinion. And thank you for saying that. And I hope it is, but it's not without the hard work. I mean, it's making the mistake many times. It's like going, you know what? That was stupid. I don't need to do that. And so it just don't feel the need to interject. I let a lot of things on Facebook and Twitter. I just let it go. Like, you know what? Whatever.
Yeah, I'm same way. I follow our local government stuff here pretty close because of where I'm at.
Right.
And it's like, you know what? I want to say this, but it's what good's it going to do?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, thinking back to my notes, kind of to like, okay, how do we put this into practice, right? And I think, first figuring out, hey, we do need to have some type of reconciliation, then asking for forgiveness, but also understanding, and it was Proverbs 15:1, a gentle answer deflects anger, but harsh words make tempers flare. So it's just like throwing fuel on the fire. When somebody's already mad, and I'll tell you, I'm good at this. I used to be good. I probably still am. I try not to do this anymore, but if somebody's mad, they call them electricians because you're wiring stuff up. And I was good at it. Like somebody gets, upset about something, and I'll just, keep wiring it, keep feeding that fire.
Yeah, I get that too.
And it's wrong. I shouldn't do that. And
it's fun though.
It can be.
That's the problem.
But we shouldn't do that.
Right.
And then in Galatians 6:1, Paul's writing, "Dear brothers and sisters, if another believer is overcome by sin, you who are godly should gently and humbly help that person back into the right path. And be careful not to fall into the same temptation yourself." So if they're sinning, whatever, and then they're mad, and then you confront them, and then you get mad, well, then you're sinning too, right? So it's good to understand that, right? And if you can't do it with a calm head, then just wait to do it.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
And I will say this. We live in a very technology-forward world. Most people prefer to text or email, or actually text now. I think just old people email. I email a lot.
I feel triggered all of a sudden.
But I think, most people are just like, hey, you just can't text me this. Like, why do you got to call me? Just text me. But for something like this, like a text message you can't feel emotion through a text, right? You're going to read it wrong. Same with, a lot of people maybe over the phone may not be good. There's a lot of times I deal with people, work and, life and stuff. And there's some times where it's like, you know what, we can't do this over the phone. Like I need to do this in person, face to face, so you can see my facial expressions and I can see yours. Because there's a lot that's said with, body language, right? So figure out which one's better. And how you're going to do that. But I think the biggest thing is don't let it sit. Don't let it fester, because it's going to get worse.
Yeah, the Bible is also pretty clear on not letting too much time lapse, especially if you're aware of an offense. So if you're not aware of an offense, then you're kind of operating out of ignorance until somebody calls you and says, hey, I need to talk to you about something you did 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But if you're aware of an offense, yes, there's a lot of wisdom in letting cooler heads prevail, but then getting to it and getting through it so you can move forward. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important too to understand that our words do have power, and as much as, we think that, I can say this and nobody's going to remember it, but people do, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
And I'm not saying that, hey, I'm some great orator or whatever, but I've talked to people and, did speeches and sessions at work events, like professional events, and somebody will come and be like, yeah, I remember a couple of years ago you were speaking this thing and you said this. I'm like, I don't even remember that, right? And you do. So what we do say can and will have an impact. So it's important, like to Jeremy's point earlier, think about what comes out of your mouth before you say it, because it could have a bad impact.
It could and probably will.
Yeah.
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 And unfortunately too, we tend to remember and reflect the negative more than the positive.
Yeah.
I could say 9 very, very uplifting, positive things to somebody and one thing that is not, and that's what they're going to focus on. And I would too. So I'm not projecting. I think that's just human nature, is that then we're going to focus on the one negative and the hurt that it caused, and lose sight of the 9 very uplifting, encouraging things that were said. And so to your point, our words do matter. There's even, where is it? I want to say it's in James where James says, from the, salt water and fresh water do not come from the same spring. So, our words can't be, positive and negative words should not be emanating from our tongue. That should just be positive. It can't be both. And again, this is kind of calling us out of the world in which we find ourselves to be a person of God, is that we're to be uplifting and encouraging and seeking peace and reconciliation and restoration, even if we have been hurt or if we're the ones that have caused the hurt, to go and then make those amends quickly and holistically. So again, it's hard work, but it's rewarding work, and this is what God has called us to do in Christ.
Absolutely. And keeping the peace, and that's what God calls us to be, peacemakers, and live in peace with everybody. And maybe we talked about a lot of division. Maybe we can do a whole series on about all the things that divide us as people and break them down one by one. I'd love to maybe hit that.
Yeah, we could do that. But I would say, just really quickly as we're wrapping this up, to your point, is you're kind of summing up there about keeping the peace. Sometimes to keep the peace, we do need to separate. And not force things. The hope would be that it's not forever. That this is just something that we're working through, and until there can be peace, we're gonna recognize that being together right now is not gonna be too volatile, and so we have some work to do. And so until then, we're gonna somehow, some way, have a little bit of distance. Kind of, that's the Abraham and Lot story, that they had some distance between them, but then when necessary, they were able to work together again. And so maybe keeping the peace does mean recognizing we're not there yet, so let's not create a spark in a family get together or a party or whatnot. And that's why let's deal with it quickly, because we don't want to stay in this situation forever. This is not good. This is not ideal. So let's deal with it. Let's deal with it right, and let's put it to bed, and let's get back then to being where God wants us to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. Well, on that note, because I don't think I could expand on that any better.
I think you guys have all figured out I could ramble on all day. I don't want to do that to you.
No, that's good, man. That's good. It's good stuff. Well, if you've got some areas of life where you had reconciliation or need reconciliation, we'd love to hear about it. Love to hear if you had some success stories, or even if you need help or need prayer, definitely reach out. You can find us all on the social media platforms at TheNeatDisciples, or you can email us at TheNeatDisciples@gmail.com. And yeah, I mean, we love hearing from y'all guys, whether it's good or bad. And just, reach out.
But remember that we remember the bad.
We do remember the bad.
No, either way, we want to hear.
Right.
We want to be better. Yeah.
So we're going to move to the part of the show where we're going to drink a little bourbon. So if you have any problems with alcoholism, this is the time to turn it off. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
But for those of y'all that want to hear about the bourbon, the other night, Jeremy and I went to our local big box store. Well, you can see it on the bottle. It was a specs thing, but they had a tasting of the Pursuit bourbon. So we went over there and tried their bourbon and their rye. Those were the only two that they were actually tasting. And they have the double oaked, which we were just debating. I don't know. I can't remember if I tried it or not. Maybe I did. But this is a store pick double oak. It's the only one they had, so they weren't letting us taste it. So I picked it up, and we figured that we'd taste it and run it on the neat scale in case you run across it, and you'll know if it's worth a shot. So
this is our service to you.
Our service to you, yeah. So let's look at the bottle. It's 108 proof, double oaked. It's a blend of straight bourbon whiskeys, low rye, and wheated bourbons. So it's blend. So the guy did tell us.
Yeah, it was a collaboration between a couple distilleries, if I remember right.
Yeah, it is. It was Bardstown.
And one other one.
And another one.
That was notable. Yeah, I can't remember either. but it was a notable one.
Shame on us for
Yep.
not remembering that,
Yep.
because it was pretty interesting.
Maybe somebody out there can tell us, but
Yeah,
yeah, it was a
please.
collaboration between two recognized. Yeah.
Oh, Bardstown, Tennessee Distilling Partner, and Finger Lakes Distilling.
Well, that wasn't it.
That wasn't notable,
Yeah.
but those aren't notable. But they're distilling companies. But
Yeah.
it's a lot of Bardstown, and they get their stuff too. Well, they're starting to do their own stuff.
Right.
But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so let's give it a shot. Now, we were actually planning on visiting their tasting room in Louisville. We just didn't have the time. We ran out of time when we were on our Kentucky trip a while back.
And they were just completing that room too. I think
Yeah.
if we were to have made it the day we wanted to, it was like the first day they're opening or the second day they're opening.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, give it a shot.
Looks like bourbon.
It does look like bourbon. It's got a really good viscosity.
Good color.
Yeah, a really good color. I love it.
It is double oaks. I mean, so it's nice and dark.
Ooh, that smells delightful.
It sure does. Kind of brown sugary.
Mm-hmm.
A real sweetness to it.
I can get the caramel.
Maybe a little
Wow.
vanilla.
Oh yeah. No cough?
That's coming. There it is.
There it is.
All right.
Now that that's out of the way.
Now that's
we
out of the
get
way.
to business.
Yep.
Wow, that's
really good.
that is really good. It's really smooth.
Very smooth, not a strong ethanol. The taste kind of hangs on there. I'm getting like a hint of like sweet, like a peppery sweetness at the end there. Almost like maybe caramel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some rye in this blend too.
Which would add to the sweetness, yeah.
10% rye in two of the blends.
Ryes tend to be sweeter, right? Or at least taste sweeter.
Yeah, a little spice to it. And then there's a 20% wheat in one of the blends. So that actually mixes really well.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Not a strong ethanol on the nose or the tongue, at least for me.
Yeah, it's got a little bit going down. A little bit of a burn going down, but it's not. It's that good old Kentucky hug.
There you go. Yeah.
All right, so let's run it down the neat scale. So the N for the nose, man,
Yeah.
I'm a 4 on the nose. Man.
I was gonna say
it's not the
I was
best.
gonna say
thing.
almost a 5. That was pretty good, but I'm okay with a 4.
Yeah, it is got a very pleasant, easy smell to it. Wouldn't say it was the best I've ever smelled, but you want to go like a 4.5?
Sure.
Let's go with it. We can
That
do.
works,
We
yeah.
can do
halves. All right.
halves. So the taste, the flavor profile. I mean, I can still like it. That's really good too.
Like it's still there
Mm-hmm.
on the tongue. To me it was very sweet, like not overly, just kind of sweet forward. Caramely, vanilla,
Oh yeah.
brown sugar. Other people I know can taste like, fruit, dark fruits, dried fruits, maybe even some breads, and I've not quite got there yet, but very, very sweet.
I can definitely get a little
good
bit of the smokiness from the oak.
Sure.
Like that.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's really good. I don't know, man. I'm about a 4 on
I
the
would say at least a 4.
on the taste
Yeah.
too. Accessibility. I don't know if I've seen much of this. I think it's hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
It was like $60, I think, for the bottle.
52.
52.
Wait, no, that was
No,
the,
that
that
was
was
the
the
Woodford.
Woodford. Yeah,
That was
yeah,
the
yeah,
Woodford.
yeah. That's right, because there was no tag of this. You bought it. I had no idea what you paid for it.
Yeah,
So
that was.
I'm gonna trust you.
I think it was 60.
That's right.
So from accessibility and a price standpoint, I don't know. It's a $60 bottle. I would pay $60 for it all day long. It's that good, but accessibility would probably put it around a 3.
I don't know. It's pretty easy for me to get. You bought it and you opened it for
Oh,
me.
well,
So yeah,
yeah.
so it's a 5, but and I don't have to pay a dime for it. But no, I get it. I would probably pay $60 for that. One bottle at a time. Obviously maybe. But I've never really looked for the Pursuit stuff. But maybe I need to. So
I've seen their stuff, but
I've seen
never
their
a
stuff
double
too,
oak.
but yeah, and I don't know that I've ever seen the double oak. So whatever you said, a 3. I won't argue.
Yeah, I'm at a 3 on that because
I
I
will
don't
keep the
think it's
peace.
I don't think it's like super readily available
Okay.
at this point. I don't think it's hard to find if they have it, but I think it might just be a supply thing. Texture, it had a really good viscosity to it. Again, it wasn't real thin.
No.
It kind of hung on. So
Yeah, I'd give it at least a 4. If not,
I'm at a 4
4.5,
on that
yeah.
too. Yeah. So we're at 1, 2, 12, 17 and a half. That's going to put it as an anointed, even without that half a point on the end.
It would have been anointed
on the nose. Yeah.
All right.
So we're an anointed on
It is
this
anointed.
one. So this is a good one, guys. So if y'all, I'm kicking bottles down here. So if you want the Pursuit double oak, we recommend it. It's good stuff.
It's the TheNeatDisciples stamp of approval.
Exactly.
Yes.
The anointed stamp of approval. So one thing that there was a guy in there.
A rep.
Well, no,
Oh,
not
yeah,
the
yeah,
rep.
the
There
other
was
guy.
another
Yeah,
guy. There was
that's right.
another guy who kind of sold this. He's like, "Oh, this stuff's really good," and he said it's better than the Woodford double oak. And I was like, well, okay. We did a blind on some double oak bourbons with the Woodford and the Bondstone, and there was another one I can't remember. Go back and watch that episode. Even the Woodford double oak and the Woodford double oak came out on top.
Yeah.
Every time I drink it, I'm surprised on how good it is. So let's just do a little comparison real quick.
Okay.
I'll twist your arm.
Yeah.
Here, let me just pour them from down here. So I just happen to have a bottle of Woodford
Look at
double
that.
oak, and it's $52 because they
52,
said
yeah.
it was the same price point. It's a little bit cheaper than the Pursuit. Okay. It's a little lighter. Well,
Yeah.
maybe it is.
Well, where's the bottle?
Just a hair.
Like put the bottle next to.
Yeah, let's put the bottle
yeah.
up there. I think it's just a
A
little
little bit lighter, huh?
Just a little bit. Not much.
Could be the way the lights are hitting it, though. What's the proof of this one? I don't have my glasses on.
It is 90.4 proof. It's a lower
All right,
proof.
so lower proof. Okay. Also has a sweet nose to it.
Mm-hmm. They're different.
They are different.
This one's a little bit smoother. It's 10. It's 10.
It's got to be the different in the
lower
proof.
in the proof.
Yeah.
Yeah. But from a flavor standpoint and a nose standpoint, I wouldn't say they're like real similar, but they do have similarities.
There's similarities, but I think we're kind of comparing, almost like we're comparing not apples and oranges because they're both double oaked, but 108.
Fiji apples to
Yeah, go with that.
Granny Smith
Gala
apples.
apples, yeah, whatever,
apples,
right? Yeah, red apples, the green apples.
Yes.
But we're looking at what 8, 9 more, higher proof than this one. So I think that's going to be this one obviously drinks a little bit hotter because it's 108 versus the 90. I tend to go the lower proof stuff, but I almost between these two, this is good.
Yeah.
This is maybe a little bit better.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit better, in my opinion.
I think they're good in their own ways, right?
Yeah, they're neither of them should be discredited. Just side by side, it's evident. There's got to be the proof point difference because it's just a lot smoother, a lot easier drink because you're getting much lower proof.
Less alcohol proof. Yeah.
Right.
Well, good deal. Well, anointed on this, I don't know. We hadn't ran this, but it'd probably be an anointed too. I mean, they're and then for the $10 more, $12 more. Yeah, these are
They're both very good.
Yeah, definitely the Pursuit. Absolutely the Woodford Double Oak. That was a good experiment.
It was,
man.
yeah.
Hey, science, man. We're just
Well done,
all
right.
kind of science.
That's what we do for America.
Yeah, right. Patriots.
Right.
Love it. Hey, y'all. Well, thanks for joining us today. I hope you got a lot out of the conversation. Hope you enjoyed the tasting. So if you do find this on the shelf, definitely pick
get
you
it.
some up.
Yeah.
For that price point. Definitely, like, share, follow our content. We're starting to grow a little bit, which is great. Getting a lot of really good comments on some of our social platforms. Love hearing from y'all. Again, you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Facebook, all at The Neat Disciples. You can email us at theneatdisciples@gmail.com, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, everybody.